It's one step forward and two steps back for the Oklahoma Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. He's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We're getting you ready for Oklahoma and Alabama, but we've got not so great news on the injury front. It looked like things were trending in a positive direction for one Jalil Farooq, who wasn't on the Wednesday availability report, and now he is listed as questionable. Deion Burks has been downgraded to out. Not too terribly surprising. Javonte Barnes still listed as questionable. So it looks like it's just going to be another one of those games where Oklahoma doesn't have a wide receiver that they expected to be part of their top five.
Yeah, it looks like 4 offensive linemen's going to be down, 4 wide receivers to be down, 2 DBs, and then you get the Farooq news, which I get. As we talked about the first, on yesterday's episode, we were very shocked that Farooq wasn't on here, specifically because we know he had the foot surgery, and the expectation is every week he will probably show up as questionable and then eventually end up playing in the game. He's probably still on a snaps restriction. So if that is the case, I do expect to see Farooq this weekend, but him finally showing up on the sheet is a little discouraging. Hopefully there wasn't a setback, in which nobody has said anything. Like, I've been looking around for articles. Any details, John? Brent Venables hasn't said a word. We haven't heard anything from Emmett Jones. We haven't heard anything from Joe John Finley, Kevin Johns. We haven't really heard anything from the University of Oklahoma whatsoever around it. So this is something we'll just keep monitoring. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow night. We'll see what it looks like first thing on Saturday morning. But as of right now, I still expect Jalil Farooq to play.
I don't at this point. Listen, I've come to this point where I'm kind of a negative Nelly on the injury front. Unless you suit up, I'm not expecting it. With the way the quote unquote availability report has gone this season for Oklahoma, it wouldn't surprise me if anybody sat out any games, because everybody's been hurt. Basically, it seems like all season long. And listen, you got some good news with Michael Tarkin being off the availability report on Wednesday. He's still off the availability report on Thursday. So that's positive, but it's just so hard to have much faith that Jalil Farooq's going to play unless I see him go out there and play 50 snaps. Then obviously I'll sit here and be like, well, I was wrong about that.
Right.
But until he does that, I'm just not going to have a whole lot of confidence that he's going to be able to get through a full game just yet. I mean, he's done it in the past, obviously, but it's been since week 1 that he stepped foot on the field in a really competitive situation. I know he got a few snaps a couple weeks ago, but I'm just not at a point where I'm like, yes, that dude's definitely going to play. This guy's definitely going to play. With where Oklahoma's at in the season, I don't see any reason to rush any of these guys back. If they're questionable, let them heal. It is what it is.
Yeah, and being cautiously optimistic that I am with it. I mean, last time he showed up on the report, they both showed up as, I think, doubtful, went to questionable, and they started to go downgrade, which is typically what you see in the NFL model, right? It's kind of a gamesmanship thing. They show up as not going to play. They're possibly going to play. Now they're in the probable stage, and then they end up disappearing off of the sheet. I do feel like we may go that direction, but you're not wrong for having cautious pessimism when it comes to this, because this is how the season is gone. It's been discussed.
And that's not like me. I don't
like it's not guy. But it's a fair assessment for you, John. It's Oklahoma Sooners have just struggled this entire season when it comes to injuries. And so when you're used to your star play, especially your wide receiver room, going down the list from Nick Anderson to Jane Gibson, Nick Anderson, and Andrew Anthony not being here at all, and then Deion Burks being added to the list over the last few weeks, we've gotten accustomed as Sooner fans that guys probably aren't going to play. I'm hoping that Farooq does prove us wrong and he steps on the field and he gets, at least 25 snaps. If he can maintain something like that, I think that makes him enough of a threat to where Jackson Arnold possibly can get more comfortable. You mentioned this on a few shows back last week. It's like a basketball player. You put up some shots. If you see him go in the bucket, you start feeling comfortable. Get some passes thrown, get some completions, and you're probably going to feel more comfortable. The only thing about it is that you can't force feed them to Jalil Farooq. You got to get him in stride, because if you start force feeding it, the one thing this Alabama Crimson Tide defense is really good at doing, reading quarterbacks and reading plays. They will jump a route and take that bad boy home in a heartbeat. So you've got to try to outsmart, the smart people in this situation. And so I'm hoping Farooq goes out there even as a decoy to help out. I'm happy with the Deion Burks, like you mentioned. That's not a surprise. It kind of felt like he wasn't going to play in this game. But John, I'm still just happy at the fact that Michael Tarkin ain't on this list yet. Can we have some excitement there? Can we have some happiness there, John?
Yeah,
please.
I'm for it, man. And especially if you're going to go into this game and you're going to try to run the ball 60 to 70% of the time. Having Michael Tarkin back helps you run the football a little bit better. The other big news that happened on Thursday evening, Kevin Sperry flips to Florida State, Jay.
That came out of nowhere. And I'm going to be honest, I dropped a video on it last night. You can check it out on my channel on Fair Sports as well. But the Cliffs notes from that is, I kind of expected him to flip a while ago, right? It kind of felt like he was going to get lost in the shuffle with the quarterbacks that we had, young Hawkins, Jackson Arnold, if he shows to be the Jackson Arnold we expect, and then Jaden O'Neal coming right behind him. There's a possibility with his size and stature, he's more of your prototypical quarterback at 6'3", 6'4", 200 and something pounds as a high schooler. So you got a big dude coming in the background that's going to be pushing with everyone else. Now, Sperry could have walked in there and stole the job from a Hawkins, stole the job from a Jackson Arnold. You never know until it actually play on the field, but there's a lot of people that were saying they kind of expected this to happen. But then it flipped to Florida State. John, I reached out to some people that I know that cover Florida State, that are very deep in the trenches in Florida State. They did not know about this until last night. They were like, I have no clue where this came from. Because I know that Florida State was chasing another player, Carter Smith, who grew up wanting to be a Florida State Seminole, and that hasn't worked out because they also lost their quarterback to Florida recently. So recruiting is wild.
It is.
But John, I asked you this question. Kevin Sperry decommits. Do you feel like it's a sign in regards to maybe one offensive coordinator potentially being hired?
I think there's potential there. I think it does maybe indicate that there is at least a leaning in that direction, and maybe a transfer quarterback. At least there's an idea that that's going to be the case, but it could be as simple as the path to playing time isn't as convoluted maybe at Florida State as it is going to be at Oklahoma. And you mentioned Jaden O'Neal, you mentioned Michael Hawkins and Jackson Arnold. Let's not forget Brendan Zerbrug, and then Peyton Houston, like the 2027 quarterback. Like, that's another dude that's going to be in the pipeline, and he's really, really talented as well. So listen, I've talked a ton on this show about my belief in Kevin Sperry's talents and abilities. I think he's underrated in the class. I think Florida State gets a big time quarterback prospect, and listen, for whatever reason he decided to flip, to move on to Tallahassee, listen, he's going to have an opportunity to go compete for a job and compete for significant playing time. There's a lot that's been up in the air with Oklahoma. Yeah. The OC situation is very different right now than it was when Kevin Sperry committed. There's no Jeff Lebby. Seth Luttrell is no longer an analyst or an offensive coordinator. Joe John Finley is probably out the door. And there's a good chance that one of the quarterbacks that are on the roster right now are probably out the door as well. So there's going to be a lot of shuffling on the offensive side of the ball that potentially made things not as homely or comfortable for Jackson Arnold, or not for Jackson, for Kevin Sperry. And that could have been enough.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and speculate as to why, but there's a lot of different moving parts that could have made this decision fairly simple for him and for his family. What's intriguing is you look at the other guys in the 2025 class and they're taking that next man up mentality, and they're not too concerned. It doesn't seem like a whole lot of waverings happening, even though Kevin Sperry was a big part of peer recruiting that class. Nobody seems to be wavering at this point, Jay. It looks like everything is going on a positive note.
Yeah, everything's going as business as usual for them. Yeah. And their mindset is business as usual. We're going to continue. We're on to Cincinnati. Is basically their mindset. They're in the Bill Belichick mindset of we're on to the next one. And to even add to that, as we wrap up, I agree with you with the OC as far as like a transfer quarterback. But the other factor to think about it is those OCs are also recruiting quarterbacks for their next class too.
Yep.
25 quarterback could be following one as well. Yep. That's the only reason why I kind of see a tie with the OC there, is that if there is a chance that the OC has been narrowed down or it has been, potentially agreed to terms in preparation for the end of the season, that they may have a commit at their current school that will say, no, I want to play for him. Yeah. And so they may actually follow. So there's a lot of moving parts. We'll let you know the minute we find out something.
And let's not forget to mention the Jamarian Ficklin part of this too. He's been on campus. He's been on campus a lot with Oklahoma this fall.
But no,
Adam Muskogee, 3-star prospect. But if this dude was playing in DFW, he wouldn't be a 3-star prospect. He's a 4-star. He is a very talented guy with a live arm and great athleticism. He can sling it. And so that's a really intriguing. Just got an offer from Utah. So his recruiting profile is picking up a lot of steam as the 2025 cycle gets closer to the early signing period. But we got a football game to talk about on Saturday, Jay. What are going to be some keys to the game for the Oklahoma Sooners against Alabama? Let's discuss coming up next on Locked On Sooners.
Prize Picks is the best way to get into the action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Oklahoma, Georgia, Texas, and more. And Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, which is pretty interesting because so that your lineup stays in play even if one of your players get injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Pick keeps your lineup live. And you can go and check them out. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. You don't even have to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So you can look at for this weekend. I'm looking at Travis Hunter at half a rush and receiving touchdown against Kansas. Of course, I'm going to take more on that one. Shedeur Sanders with 1.5 passing touchdowns. Come on, guys. Let's be realistic here. Even with Ryan Williams coming to Oklahoma, 53.5 receiving yards, I'm going to take less because I think the Oklahoma defense can do it. You can do it too. So download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. So download the app today, use the code LOCKEDONCollege, and you'll get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. And we're also going to shout out to Home Field Apparel. Y'all know I'm rocking my hoodie. I rock every Friday. And I'm also going to be wearing this to the game this weekend because why? It is getting cold. And if you want to make sure you're prepared for the next game, most likely the LSU one down in Death Valley, Home Field Apparel got you taken care of. They're hooking you up all season long with some of the best vintage gear for your favorite team. They've even got these awesome boxes. The boxes contain 3 never-before-seen items for your school that's not available anywhere else, and they're curated for fans. That way you're getting some of the good stuff from hoodies to t-shirts to hats. If you get a platinum box, you'll get a koozie and a hat, and you'll also get the Platinum Pass, guaranteeing 20% off and early access all season long. So go check out Home Field Apparel. Go to homefieldapparel.com. Use our code Sooner24 to get 15% off your first purchase. Go once again, homefieldapparel.com. Use our code Sooner24 and you will get 15% off your first purchase.
Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Jay, what's a key to the game for the Oklahoma Sooners defense against the Alabama Crimson Tide?
The biggest thing is watching out for the deep pass. You cannot let Ryan Williams cook you. You need to know where he is at all time. This kind of goes back to the conversation we had around Missouri, John. When we played against Missouri, Luther Burden was moving around, and I said it straight up. I understand that sometimes you want to play zone to kind of give people some rest or whatnot, but if there's one player you need to know is where he's at all times, it's Luther Burden. The one time we decide to not know where he was at, guess what? Caught a deep pass on us. So when you go up against a team like this now, Kendrick Law, you got Jeremy Bernard. There's some solid wide receivers. The tight end room is actually pretty solid. But in a running back room, I mean, from Haynes as well as Jam, the other running back, Jam Miller he's shot up on the depth chart. The good thing is we ain't seen Richard Young yet, the freshman, who terrifies me just because his name is Richard Young. That's a name of a running back, and I don't know why. It's really weird. But, John, the biggest thing for us is knowing where Ryan Williams is on the field. Just know what that dude is. Someone needs to keep an eye on him. If you see him cross your path, he's mine now. If he goes all the way across, next guy, he's mine now. Just someone pay attention where he is. That's probably the number one thing. You know where Ryan Williams is. That means you'll have a good idea of what Jalen Milroe is going to do. And then from there, you got to stop the run. Jalen Milroe is going to try to scramble like crazy. Find somebody, I'm telling you, steal it from what Texas did to us. Have a linebacker that spies, and as soon as he can find the hole within the way that the pocket is set, fill it. Make Milroe go other directions. And I promise you, you'll do a better job than most when it comes to containing him. That's what I'm looking at. What do you see as a good key for this team?
Yeah, I think if you're able to slow down Jalen Milroe and you're able to prevent the explosive play, you'll have a chance defensively to get off the field.
Yep.
It's a really good Alabama team. It's good up front along the offensive line. It's got good skill talent. And Jalen Milroe is playing good ball right now. He's playing efficient ball. So finding ways to create some negative plays when Jalen Milroe is trying to run, playing contain, don't let him get outside the pocket and scramble because he is dangerous in that front. He has more runs for first downs than anybody in the Power Four. The only person in the quote unquote Power Five, if you want to include Washington State, that has more runs for first downs at the quarterback position than Jalen Milroe, it's that dude at Washington State that may or may not be one day an Oklahoma Sooner. So just limiting big plays in general is going to be huge for Oklahoma. Ryan Williams is averaging 19 yards per reception. He has 7 catches for over 20 yards, 5 touchdowns on receptions over 20 yards. The dude is a big play machine, and Oklahoma has been very susceptible to the big play. You mentioned Luther Burden's big play. Let's not forget about Theo Weese's big catch and run for the 28 yards that sparked that last-minute drive against Oklahoma. Every week, it seems like Oklahoma's been giving up big plays in the passing game. If they can limit the explosives, they'll have a chance. But that's a big thing, and I'm not sure if they can or not. Eli Bowen, this is a big opportunity for you against another true freshman to show that, hey, I'm on that planet. I'm on the same plane. We're playing the same game against Ryan Williams. But Jeremy Bernard, he's averaging 15 yards per reception. So he's a big play threat in his own right as well. I think defensively, it's going to be one of their toughest tests, and maybe their toughest test of the season with the skill talent that Alabama's going to have available this week. Offensively, I mean, we've talked about it a number of times. Run the rock, run it like crazy. When you feel like you've ran it enough, continue to run it. If you get bored of running the football, just keep running the football. Play like it's going to be a snow game. Play like you're back in the 1980s. I'm not asking for triple option. Let's not get weird like that. But run the ball.
Team may be fun.
Just run the ball and use your traditional offense, and then run some of the read option, the zone read out of that with Jackson Arnold, with Michael Hawkins on occasion as well. Mix up your run looks, but just get downhill and run the football.
Yeah, no, and throwing you off, teasing with the wing tee. It's always fun to do that. Especially
tired of that.
I know, right? But on a serious note, go check out Gabe and Teddy over at the Oklahoma Breakdown. They do a really good job of breaking a lot of this down as well, and kind of pointing out some of the things that Alabama kind of struggles with. And one of those things that they struggle with, that they mentioned, that we have a tendency of doing well when we actually use it is that outside zone. Like their defensive line doesn't have a person on there that's really a bona fide first rounder that we're used to. We're used to Alabama always having an edge or a tackle that's just bona fide. They're going in the first 5 picks, guaranteed. They don't have anybody like that this year. That doesn't mean that their defensive line isn't good. It's just that they don't have that one dude that's the center point you look at and say, first round. So, or top 5. They're going to probably have a first rounder, but what they're probably going to do is focus on the same thing that Ole Miss did against us in the second half. They're going to that left side of the field. So Logan Howland, Heath Ozida, this is your time to shine. They're going to focus on you guys because that was the weakest link when we played Ole Miss in the second half. Because the first half, we gave Ole Miss hell. Second half, and it was that side. So the expectation is they're going to go that direction. And kind of Gabe kind of made mention of do some outside zone the opposite direction, run away from that, and also keep the pocket moving for Jackson Arnold since he's going to be playing. And to be honest, play Michael Hawkins some too. Mix it up.
Yep.
Keep them confused. Keep them on their toes. If you can do that, and then also, if there's anything, if you think you see ghosts, throw the ball. Don't even wait for it. Chunk it across the middle. Hit the ground. It's okay. Let those bad boys go incomplete because the one thing you cannot do is hold the ball and wait for yourself to get hit while your wide receivers are still running routes. That ruins all the chemistry and mojo out there. You've got to be able to just face those ghosts and throw the ball even if ghosts are there. It don't matter. Keep pushing regardless. But I think that's the way to be successful.
Be decisive. You got to be decisive.
Yeah, you got rid of the ball. So just be decisive.
Don't second guess. You think long, you think wrong, as my dad would say. So
exactly.
Just be decisive. Your first instinct is going to be your best instinct. Just roll with it. And listen, the moment you start second guessing yourself is the moment bad things are going to happen.
Agreed.
And I want to just see whatever quarterback's out there, whatever running back's out there, just see what you see and go for it. Let it all out. You've got nothing to lose in this one. You're a double-digit underdog at home. You've got nothing to lose.
0 to lose.
So
just take advantage, have fun.
Let it all hang out. Let it fly. Let it rip, and go have fun. So who's going to win this one? Jay and I are going to give our final predictions on this one. Plus, we'll talk about a few of the SEC games that are going to happen this week as well. Coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted to a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel better. Your best tomorrow. Here's how it works. Step 1, drink pre-alcohol for best results. Make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Step 2, drink responsibly. Pace yourself. Hydrate. Get a good night's sleep. And then step 3, enjoy tomorrow. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day. So go to zbiotic.com/locked-on-college to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/locked-on-college and use the code LOCKEDONCollege at checkout for 15% off. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, college, all in one place. Like, for example, Oklahoma Sooners are still sitting around a 13.5, 14-point dog. And the good thing is 13.5 right now. So if you want to jump into action and hopefully get a win from it, you can do that. So what you can do is go to visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. The SEC doesn't really have a ton of marquee matchups this week. Oklahoma, Alabama might be the most marquee one. I mean, we're getting that primetime ABC slot, but there is some intrigue happen across the conference. LSU Vanderbilt is a very intriguing one. It got relegated to SEC Network, but Vanderbilt
Disrespectful.
6-4, 3-3 in the SEC. LSU 6-4, 3-3 in the SEC. Is there a scenario in which Vanderbilt overtakes the Tigers in the standings this week?
I mean, they're playing in Death Valley, and it's going to be a night game. So there's a possibility that that's supposed to be that way. But I'm going to tell you this. Don't sleep on Vanderbilt. Diego Pavia loves these atmospheres, and Garrett Nussmeier has not been playing at the standard that we were hoping for. So I could totally see Vanderbilt going out there, giving them hell, and making it to where we play at 6-5 LSU, and we come in there potentially at either 6-5 or 5-6, and fighting for our chances to go to a bowl game. So yeah, that one's going to be an interesting game. I think there's two other ones though that really deserved attention. And I'm very much disappointed that we're not talking about these more. The first one is Texas A&M at Auburn. They're going to Jordan Hare, as everyone likes to call it. Jordan, whatever. It's cursed place. But John, A&M is only a 2.5 point favorite in this game. That is a low spread on FanDuel.
The last time this happened was when Missouri went to College Station, and it was similar. The spread was really low, and then Alabama or A&M boat raced the Tigers.
Boat raced them.
Yeah. Dude,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Zach Blackerby locked on Auburn. Our dude, no. Just no. I have no belief that the Auburn Tigers are going to win this game.
John.
There's zero chance. It's not happening. It's not going to happen.
John.
I don't even like the Aggies, but they're not. The Tigers are not winning this one.
John, the spread flipped on us playing against Auburn, and we lost half our players. And somehow we won there. I'm just saying, it ain't crazy to believe that this could possibly happen.
Listen, if it is the rare game in which Auburn doesn't turn the ball over, then maybe, sure.
Yeah, I think that's probably the safest way to look at it.
But But do you have any faith that Auburn's going to play a full 60-minute football game without turning the ball over a bunch?
Absolutely not. But the other thing is, can Texas A&M throw the ball?
Do they need to? We completed one big play in the passing game, and we beat them.
Touche. It's not that Auburn lacks talent. That's the thing. We know that Auburn has talented players. I guess the question is, can they avoid the brain fart? Yeah, that's the question.
Can they avoid coughing the game up, similar to the way that we did against Missouri?
Yeah, that's going to be the question, because that's the exact same scenario.
I don't trust the Tigers to do that.
Right? We flipped against Missouri and did it, and we gave it back.
Now,
I trust Texas A&M
is overlooking the Tigers and looking ahead to Texas.
And that is the other piece component. You got the biggest game of the nation at the end of next week is going to be, it's that one. It's Texas A&M. The big game has lost its luster because Michigan is terrible. So that's going to be the big game next week. But there's also one more game that no one is really talking that much about. But I feel like there is a chance for a massive upset.
Listen, Kentucky beat Ole Miss. Are you talking Kentucky, Texas? Is that where you're going with this?
No.
Really?
No.
Okay.
But that could be a possibility too.
I mean, I'm not going to sleep on the Wildcats, and I'm not going to sleep on Mark Stoops. I know it's Brock Vandegrift, and he's not great, but listen, they did beat Ole Miss.
It's a perfect trap game. I 100% agree with you there. But the
one game that we need to be
the one game we need to be talking about is Florida Ole Miss. Ole Miss traveling to the swamp,
and Florida.
Ole Miss is 11-point favorite, and Florida just cooked LSU, and they feel like their trajectories might be up. That one is one to keep your eyes on.
Yeah,
I'm a little nervous about that game for Ole Miss.
Coming
off the high of win last week, that's a game that could end up being that's a trap game, a very good trap game. If
Florida can pull that one out, man, I think we're going to find out that DJ Lagway is the truth and the future stud star number one quarterback at the position in college football.
Ole Miss lost to LSU and Kentucky, just as you said. In that LSU game, they should not have lost. They lost on the road at LSU. They're going to the swamp, and it's going to be a day game. There's a good chance they could possibly lose that game. There's a good chance. Yes, that Georgia game was fantastic. They played on all cylinders, but Georgia like giving the ball away. Lagway's done a really good job of keeping the ball. And
Yeah.
whenever he's on, Napier may actually be cooking with something, which I understand why they gave him the vote of confidence. He may be cooking with something.
Yeah, I mean, Florida has got a talented roster too. It's just he's been working to build that roster up, build that depth up. And Lagway is a good quarterback. He's a young quarterback, and right now he's playing some really good ball.
Playing confident.
You know what's intriguing there? He's not playing efficient football. I think against LSU only completed like 50% of his passes, but it didn't matter because they created some big plays. He made plays when they needed him to, and that was enough. And they got good special teams play. So anyway, that's enough about all that. Let's get to our predictions for Oklahoma hosting the Alabama Crimson Tide. Jay, what's your score prediction for this game?
Man, I want to say that there's an upset brewing here. I want to say that Oklahoma's going to go out there and prove us wrong. I can't do it. I think Alabama wins this game, but I think it's a lot closer than the 13. I think it's like a 10-point game, 20-10, something like that. I think we do score. I think we score in this game similar to the way we did against Ole Miss. I think we run some clock. I think we get some momentum in plays. But I think what happens is what's happened in just about every game this season. The second half, we forget how to play, and our offense just keeps putting the defense in bad spots. Mm-hmm. Alabama pulls away. But I think it's more of a closer game around 20-10 now. As I'm evaluating it more and more, thinking about 20-10.
Yeah, I'm kind of sitting similarly. I think a 10-point game is about right. And that's if Oklahoma takes care of the ball. Yep. And when Oklahoma takes care of the ball, they play good ball. When they're loose with the football, when they're fumbling it away, when they're throwing interceptions, they're about as bad as it gets in college football. But this defense is really good. And this defense has a chance to slow down the Crimson Tide. I know people are going to get in the comments and they're going to scoff at the idea that we can slow Alabama down. But this is a really good defense against the run. Jalen Milroe is a good running quarterback. But you don't think that Danny Stutsman is a linebacker that can hang with Jalen Milroe? I do. I think Deshaun McCullough's size and his length are going to give Jalen Milroe some fits on the edge when he tries to break contain. I think that Kip Lewis has got the speed to run him down. I mean, it's a big challenge for your front seven against that Alabama offensive line. But the front seven has been really good this year. That's not been your weakness. So if you can prevent Jalen Milroe from getting going in the run game, and you're going to force him into some second and long, third and long situations, I like Oklahoma in those situations. Generally speaking, more often than not, they win in those situations, at least on the defensive side of the ball. But I don't think they're going to be able to score enough. And that's going to be the problem. And I do think that there will be a turnover or two that puts Oklahoma's defense in a short field situation where they give up points. And so I'm looking at Alabama 27-17. Unfortunately, hate that. I do not like picking against my team, but this is the reality of the situation. Now, I cannot wait to come back on Saturday night here on the live show after the game and be proven wrong by the Oklahoma Sooners. I would love for that to be the case. And I will sit here and I will eat my tweets and I will eat all the crow for doubting this team. But until they show something on a consistent basis, it's hard to believe that they're going to go out there and pull off this upset.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they make us all eat crow on this weekend by proving that senior night, they care more about it than the fans do, and boom, make something happen. So good luck, guys.
And listen, it's senior night. One last time to watch Ethan Downs and Woody Washington and Danny Stutsman and Billy Bowman, Deion Terry at home. Hopefully we get to see Jalil Farooq one more time at home, although he'll be back next year. So he's not completely a senior. He's going to get the redshirt year, so he'll be able to come back next year. But those other guys on the defensive side of the ball that have been such impactful people, players, teammates, leaders during the transition that occurred, it's huge, man. And it means a lot. Like, this season has not gone the way that anybody expected it to. But the defense continued to grow. The defense continued to get better. And those guys, Ethan Downs, Danny Stutsman, Billy Bowman, Woody Washington, Deion Terry, they're at the forefront, especially all those guys that have been here since the Alex Grinch, Lincoln Riley era. So shout out to those guys. Enjoy your final home game on Owen Field. You've earned all your flowers. You've earned everything that's coming your way. Just enjoy it. Go have fun, and then go shut Jalen Milroe down and maybe pull off a huge upset. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Let us know what you expect to happen this Saturday night against Alabama. What's your score prediction? Let us know in the comments. Shoot us a DM over on Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram at Locked On Sooners. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports, myself at John9Williams. And we'll be back on Saturday night after the game to break everything down. Not sure if Jay will be with us because he'll be coming back from the game, but I will be here live to react to the game with you guys here on the YouTube channel. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts and over on YouTube, and hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll catch you then. Boomer.
Sooner.